I'm Stephen Barras, and I knew Wynn for almost 18 years. I first met him at Vitamin Cottage many moons ago, and I was just struck by his warmth and friendship. And we would have these long, deep conversations, like in the vegetable section, and I was amazed he didn't get fired. But we struck up a close friendship there, and I'll share more about my experience with him. But when I heard of his passing, I contacted Kriti, who hosts a Buddhist Sangha in the area, and I said, let's have a memorial for him together with our communities. He's been a part of a contemplative Christian group that meets at my house for the past 3 or 4 years. And so we were going to meet up at the community room in the Nomad Community Center. And we had the event out on Facebook. And then David Schultz saw it and offered this beautiful space for us to have the event here. So thank you so much, David, for offering the church. It's so much more beautiful and powerful to have this event in a sacred space. So thank you, and thank you so much to all the volunteers who've helped to make this happen. Everyone in the sound room, Steve and Bob, Catherine, and can't remember everyone's names, but thank you. And so here we are. Just a few housekeeping tips. The restrooms are straight out through that door. The exits are at the back here at the right. And there's food in the fellowship hall. You're welcome to get up at any time and take care of yourself. We invite you to move around, move your body. For whatever emotions may be coming up, it's good to be present and just move with them. Also, a reminder to turn off your cell phones if they're not already off. And thank you for masking. We decided to make this a masked event just to help everyone feel safe. And when you come up, if you wish to share, you can take your mask off up here. And there's air purifiers in here that change over the air like 5 times an hour, just so you know this is a clean space. And we'll be offering items to the altar, which is here. And so if you have something you brought that's significant to you and how it represents your friendship with Wynn, you can come up and offer it. And you can just do a share from here. And we just ask if you want to share something that you queue up over here so that we don't wait for people getting up and down, and you can just stand here. And if you didn't bring something but would like to offer an object, we have stones and seeds. Where are the seeds?
Seeds are right here.
Oh, seeds are in this bowl, and stones are somewhere? Stones are back there. So if you want to offer something to the altar that's a physical object to be meaningful for you, you can do so. Also, there's a donations sign out front with some QR codes on it if you would like to offer a donation to the Eco Dharma Retreat Center. That's where Wynn would like donations to have gone. And you can also make donations to help us cover the expenses for tonight. Also, we have cards that we want to share with the family, with Wynn's family, that Mylène has. If you would like a card from her, if you didn't pick one up at the entrance, you can write a note to the family or a reflection about what Wynn meant to you, something that they would appreciate, would be beautiful, and we're going to present those to them in some special way.
Mylène is standing right there. Mylène, can you raise your hand, please?
And so just a couple words about our sharing. The invitation here is to share from your heart, share your personal experience with Wynn. We're asking the people not get into political comments, just to keep this space sacred and centered in the heart. We also have an email sign-up list out front. If anyone wants to get more engaged in climate action, you can sign your name and email there, and we'll contact you and set something else up for that. And I don't know if Wynn's family is on the YouTube live stream right now, but if they are, or when they see this recording, we'd just like to extend a very special welcome to them, to feel their presence here with us. And I'd just like to acknowledge and name that the grief they're going through, the loss that they must be feeling is orders of magnitude greater than what we as his friends are going through. So we just want to hold them in our hearts, send them our love, and think of them in that way. So we'll be sharing and doing some chanting this evening and having some silence just as an opportunity to drop into our hearts. For myself, I'm receiving the gift of this moment as an opportunity to connect deeply in with my own broken heart and my longing for this planet, for our community. And so I'm grateful for Wynn for so many reasons, but for connecting us here in this moment, in this energy, this heart. Thank you, Wynn. So I'd like to pass us on to Nobuko. Do we have our next share person? We're going to have someone sharing on Zoom, so letting technology work for us here. Would you like to share your?
I'll say just a few things.
Okay. Yeah.
See how short Stephen thinks I am. Good evening, everyone. Can you respond back to my good evening? It's very, very good to see all of you. I cannot see your faces because of the masks, but I can feel your love for Wynn. Thank you for making the trek from wherever you have joined. It personally means a lot to me. Wynn's, if you don't know me, my name is Kriti Kanko. I'm one of the Buddhist teachers associated with Eco Dharma Center. Wynn was a friend, 8 years. He would probably say I was a teacher and mentor as well. I will do my personal share later on. Right now, I just want to acknowledge the layers of emotions that we are all feeling because of the choice Wynn made. We cannot answer all the questions that are here. I invite you to be with what in Zen tradition we call don't know mind. We cannot possibly know everything that was going on in Wynn's heart and mind, spiritually, psychologically, emotionally. There's just no way. But what each of us hold today is like a tiny mirror to who Wynn was for us in his relationship with us. And through the stories you all will share, I will get to know Wynn better. So I so welcome whatever you have to share as one of the organizers of this event. Please share, please stick around. And all range of your emotions are welcome. I know Stephen said we're going to stay away from lengthy political comments and all of that, but what is in your heart, your confusion, your fear, your grief, anxiety about what it might mean, all is welcome. One more thing I want to name is, for reasons beyond our control, the way the action unfolded, Wynn has become a symbol within the climate movement. You saw the photographs from vigils that happened all over the country. So I just want to name that. Okay, so Steve has already gone over the arrangements here. The only thing I want to introduce is the middle table. The middle table has what are four symbols in a Joanna Macy ritual. It has symbol for grief. What are those leaves? It has symbol for fierce anger. There is a stick. There is an empty bowl for confusion and uncertainty we might feel. And then last thing is stone for our fears. Wynn had done Joanna Macy grief rituals with me personally at least 4 times. It was very important work for him. So I just wanted to name what's on altar and the stones and the seeds that you can put in this bowl. This is the bowl where we would offer stone or seeds if you don't have any altar object. Okay. So with that, do I pass it back to you, Stephen, or would you like Candace to go first? I'm going to invite all of us. My height has increased. My height is now increased. So if you feel like comfortable, please close your eyes. Straighten your back. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw relax. Even as you elongate your spine, your front of your body is soft and tender. See if you can hear the sound of your own out breath. You can just follow the sound of your own out breath for just a few minutes. You'd be joining Wynn in what he loved doing, meditation. As you listen to your out breath, I also invite you to slightly elongate your out breath. Just make it go a bit longer. I'm going to ring the bell now, and I'll ring it again in just 2 or 3 minutes. this point, if you feel comfortable, you can put your hands on your heart or you can make a bow.
So when I got news of Wynn's death from one of my housemates who simply heard the story on NPR, I was completely shaken. And so shocked and stunned. And I'm still trying to make sense of it. And it, in a way, I still haven't, it hasn't landed because it feels so surreal almost and abstract. But I know he's gone and I'm heartbroken. And the object that speaks to me is a bike helmet because I have this image of Wynn emblazoned on my mind, which is Wynn always coming to the house or leaving on his bike in his bike helmet, and his jeans were bound up. And it's just a very endearing image I have of him. He was often coming to our group house where I live in community, and he'd bring little food treats by for us randomly, and he was just that thoughtful. And when I first met him at Vitamin Cottage, a couple of years after I'd known him, I had a sprained knee and I was wearing a brace. And then for months after that, when I'd see him at Vitamin Cottage, he would ask me, "How's your knee doing?" And I was just an ordinary customer for him at that point. So he was just that thoughtful. And he started coming to Christian contemplative gatherings at my house. And we had a foot washing ceremony on Maundy Thursday, the Thursday before Easter, which was just 8 days before he passed. And he sent me an email before that event saying, "I really want to wash your feet." And I was so moved by that, and even much more moved by that after what happened, and the parallels to Christ's life, that it was the last thing he did for his disciples, also really shook me. So I really love you, Wynn, and I'm grateful to be able to share this sacred moment with all of you, and to be in the complexity of my feelings of deep grief and heartbreak for the state of our world and for the loss of Wynn, and confusion and anger that he left that way and that he didn't think of another way. But I also respect his choice, that I know he would have wanted me to receive that choice as a desperate cry for us to take action, for me to take action, and to express my love in the world in concrete ways. And I'm joyful for the life that he was and for his spirit of playfulness and goofiness and his dancing spirit. And I'm grateful for that. And so I'm full of all those emotions, and I'll place them into this bike helmet. Thank you, Wynn. I love you. Oh, from there, okay. So Candace is an old friend of Wynn's who's joining us live by Zoom. Is she in Canada or? Yeah, from Canada. So she's going to share some words from Nobuko's laptop.
Candace, could you say something so that we can test the audio?
Good evening, beautiful beings.
I don't know. Oh, it's working. Okay. Okay, Candace, you can start. You can start speaking when you're ready.
Good evening, beautiful beings. And I'll watch the images of Stephen and Kurti to see if there's anything I need to do. I've got the sound muted, so there's not any feedback here. Ooh. Thank you all for the way that you're holding and honoring Wynn, our dear Wynn, now and all the years that Wynn has been part of the Boulder community and the various circles within it. I met Wynn in 2009 when I was attending Naropa University. We actually met at a dance circle called Movement Mass that many of you may be familiar with. And some of what you were just saying, Stephen, about his playful dancing spirit and his goofiness, but also his profundity in the way that he moved and connected with both spirit as well as all the different community members during the dance was awe-inspiring for me. We fell in love and began a beautiful relationship that lasted as an intimate partnership for 3 years and then transitioned into an incredible friendship that lasted right up until the present moment. There's so many things that I could say and share about Wynn. So many memories of biking all around Boulder and Boulder County together, hiking up in the mountains and just little trails around Boulder, often in silence, as has been mentioned in previous conversations over the last week, and sometimes dancing in nature as well. Always sharing his unique lens for capturing beauty in people, in the natural environment, individual animals, patterns. That was an incredible gift that he shared with me. Perceiving the love and beauty that's around us in every moment, no matter how painful, surprising, or difficult it might be. When you were speaking, Stephen, about his famous look with the bike helmet and his jeans tied up at the pant leg, I remembered being at Naropa one day, deeply in group conversation, sitting in our circle on the floor in our classroom. And there was a window in one of the doors of this classroom, a frosted window. And all of a sudden, this shape appeared in the window, and it looked a little bit alien-like because it had this kind of like big, odd-shaped head, and it was kind of moving in strange ways, like it was trying to find a way to get into the room. So people were a little shaken and not sure what to do. And then all of a sudden the door started to open and people's eyes were getting big and they were just looking to see what was going to come through the door. And it was Wynn with some food treats. He knew that that day was going to be a long day at Naropa, and he was dropping off a little snack for me. His loving kindness flowed effortlessly for everyone that he met, and to be in committed, intimate partnership with him was an incredible journey and gift. I thought that maybe I would share some of his own words that came from our time together as a way of celebrating him as a poet and someone who beamed so much love. And so I have 4 pieces that I'll share. The first. Fresh snow on the ground. Beautiful woman sleeping. Strong love in my heart. Happy Valentine's Day. Love, Wynn. The second piece. Dear Candace, with the sun shining on the mountains and the clouds in punctuating prose, I am near tears merely by reflecting on you and the connection I experience. This thing we share is sacred. We are together, and it is right. Whatever things have been part of our journeys to now, they too are right. As with the moon and the stars overhead, or the rain cascading to the earth, we lie in the beauty of this moment, sharing our love through our eyes. Dancing on the breeze of the other's breath, close and true. I am within you, and it is good. You are within me, and it is good. The way that can be spoken is not the eternal way, and so too for this. This finger points to the moon as if it could do more than appreciate. Tomorrow's gate opens into another day of celebration with you. We cascade rhythmically in cycles through the waves. While stepping lightly into the future, I see we two as one, flying overhead. We fly close to each other, boldly, into the vast expanse of life. The third piece. Bigger than can be seen from where we are now, the horizon is nothing but the limit of our sight. Thank you for the chance to love and to be loved. And the fourth and final piece was a card that he gave me when we had chosen to complete our partnership and transition into a deep friendship. I'll put the card up. I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but it has two loons on the front, birds that we had appreciated many times together on our various canoeing excursions. And at the bottom of the card, it says, the most beautiful discovery two friends can make is that they can grow separately without growing apart. And inside, Wynn wrote, dearest sea, with compassion and love in our hearts, your partner always, Wynn. And I feel that to this day. I know that Wynn shared deep love with many different people over the years in different contexts and relationship containers. And still, I feel that commitment as a kind of a spirit, soul partner. I bow to you, Wynn, and to all of you who have gathered to honor his memory, his passions, and his commitment to our earth. Much love to you all, and many blessings.
My name's David Chernikoff. I've known Wynn for about 18 years and worn a number of different hats in our relationship. We first connected in 2004 when I was working as a counselor, and we spent a significant period of time getting to know each other and exploring some concerns and some interests Wynn had in his life about how he could most fully grow into wholeness and his fullness of being. He also began to attend a meditation community, the Insight Meditation Community of Colorado, that I'm one of the guiding teachers for and have been for many years. Pretty quickly after he got involved, he committed himself to that practice and to the community in a very beautiful way. He joined what we call the Service Committee, which was a group of about a dozen or so people who showed up a half hour early for each of our gatherings on a weekly basis and stayed for a half hour afterwards to help put the church back together, a church space that we rented. We met here in the room adjacent to this one for many years. And about 10 years ago, we moved over to a Methodist church, St. Paul's in South Boulder. Even after we stopped working with each other in a professional counseling relationship, we continued as spiritual friends. I worked with him as a kind of mentor and meditation teacher, and in very simple, straightforward terms, really grew to love Wynn deeply. So when I heard the news about the choice he had made and the way in which he experienced the end of his life, I was quite shocked and I would say traumatized, like many of us, and more than anything else, heartbroken that he was no longer with us. In the Taoist teachings, the teachers talk about what they call the 10,000 joys and the 10,000 sorrows. And in the time since I heard that news about Wynn and the way that he died, I feel like I've experienced about 9,000 of each, actually, you know, trying to initially make sense of what had happened, realizing pretty quickly that that wasn't going to happen, and that I simply needed to surrender to and open to the reality, this new reality in which Wynn was no longer physically a part of my life and a part of the community. Two readings came to mind, actually, when I thought about this gathering and when I was trying to understand my own relationship to Wynn's death, which was challenging in part because since I'm in a leadership role in our meditation community, I received a large number of calls and emails from people in the community who themselves were struggling with their grief and their sense of loss and their upset. One of the readings that came to mind was written by a friend and colleague. Let's see if I can get this together. Some of you might know Elias Amadon, a teacher in the Sufi tradition, who's a friend of many years and a colleague who I love and appreciate. And Elias captured something for me that helped me find a place of openness to what I was experiencing in relation to Wynn's death. Love and grief, the two sisters, were walking together. Grief had wanted to remain alone, but love insisted. "It will do you good," she said. As they went along, grief pointed out the signs of death and loss everywhere. Roadkill, sick trees, lonely people. Love stayed silent. She knew talking wouldn't help. They soon came to a place where a war was being fought. The landscape blackened, artillery shells thudding, puddles of rain mixed with blood. They stood and watched the hurried burial of a child, the small body wrapped in a piece of sheet. As the mourners left, grief slumped to the ground and wept. Love knelt beside her, covering her shoulders with her cloak. "Dear one," she whispered, "I only ask that you look to see where your tears start and why you care." After a moment, grief looked up into her sister's eyes. They leaned into each other, and to anyone who might have seen them there, they looked like one silent figure. I think a lot of us feel like that one silent figure at this particular time. And while acknowledging our grief seems extremely important, I also want to acknowledge the joy that I experienced in knowing Wynn and what people have shared about the beauty of his spirit. Wynn was a very beautiful human being, in my experience. One of the ways that I've been working with my own grief most recently is by recognizing that I'll never understand exactly what happened, just as Kriti said. There isn't a way that we can do that. But in fact, we can be willing to allow our hearts to break in such a way that they become larger instead of more contracted. And what helps me to do that process, and what might help some others of us as well, is the process of bearing witness, what I call bearing compassionate witness and being willing to see and open to the reality of what's happened. So I'll close with some words that capture the importance and the value of bearing compassionate witness as a part of the ongoing process of spiritual awakening that I suspect all of us here have a deep interest in. These are the words of Terry Tempest Williams. A good friend of mine said, "You are married to sorrow." And I looked at him and I said, "I am not married to sorrow. I just choose not to look away." And I think there is deep beauty in not averting our gaze. No matter how hard it is, no matter how heartbreaking it can be, it is about presence. It is about bearing witness. I used to think bearing witness was a passive act. I don't believe that anymore. I think that when we are present, when we bear witness, when we do not divert our gaze, something is revealed, the very marrow of life. We change. A transformation occurs. Our consciousness shifts. My wish for all of us whose hearts have been broken in relation to Wynn's death is that the transformation, the change that results is one that opens our hearts and quiets our minds so that we can each in our own way contribute to the work that Wynn saw to be so important at this time on our precious blue-green planet. I love you, Wynn.
Listening to David reminded me of a memorial that I once came across in downtown London, a memorial to the victims of September 11th. And all it said, very simply, was, "Grief is the price we pay for love." I'm another David Loy. Wynn attended several nature and eco-dharma retreats that I co-led with Johann Robbins. But he was also a dear friend. We used to get together for coffee when we could. And in September 2019, he sent me something he had written, a draft of something that I know he wanted to share with people. And he asked me for my comment on it. I don't know if it was published, but I do know that he wanted to share it. And what I'd like to do this evening is just share a few parts of that, because I think it really is important for helping us understand what he felt and what motivated him. So again, please remember, these are all his words. Real news, reality is, the court recognizes me as a protected person due to my cognitive disability. The climate emergency, the greatest crisis humanity has ever faced, does not recognize me as protected from anything. I do have a cognitive disability. However, my cognitive disability does not have me. Some 3 decades past, I sustained a traumatic brain injury. I was 18 years old. Measurably, much has changed in the 30 years since my injury. Thank you. I have learned and I have grown. Live and die, part of the deal here. Some die in pain, some die in peace. What matters more than the inevitability of our own death is clean air, clean water is required for future life. The ability of future generations to live on earth is what matters. Life on this earth, the mother of us all. I have a cognitive disability and I do not know what to do. However, that is not stopping me from doing something. I will not have the chance to be a parent, but I can recognize the children of the future are effectively being attacked by the existing power structure. It is within your power to do something about this. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King inspires me. Quote, "A man dies when he refuses to take a stand for that which is true." Robert Kennedy summed up that which is true, saying, "Our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air, we all cherish our children's futures, and we are all mortal." Wynn also quoted Greta, "No one is too small to make a difference." And then he went in this draft, he summarized an article he'd read by Elizabeth West. And let me just read some of that. "We actually do not have all the time in the world, so I am going to be bold. What you do after you finish reading this or hearing this is your business, and ultimately that is exactly as it should be. Life happens to us much more often than most of us would like to admit. But still, we can always meet it, our life, where we find it today, and choose differently how we experience the flow of time, how we interact with the circumstances we've been given and crafted for ourselves. Such is the beauty of being alive. As for dying, without death whispering in our ear, reminding us that our time is finite, it is easy to just let life happen. We stand right at the edge of the end of much that we have known and taken for granted. It is my sense that most of us understand this in what remains of our intuitive connection to the rest of life here on earth. No one knows for sure how long we have. No one ever does, but we try to make reasonable assumptions and operate from there. Clearly, there can be no one right way to live in these times. The waters are uncharted. Before building walls or talking about war in space, we need to grow up and recognize that life is about more than the ideas of self and other. And he went on to quote It's also one of my favorite quotes, Nisargadatta. When I look inside and see that I am nothing, that is wisdom. When I look outside and see that I am everything, that is love. Between these two, my life flows. Act now or forever hold your breath, writes Wynn. Speaking of which, take a moment, sit and breathe. Keeping up with the present tense from a future perspective. And he ended with a haiku. Strong heart and clear mind. What a gift just to be here, aware of breathing. Thank you, Wynn.
So it's a simple melody. Just you can join in when you catch it, or just flow with the melody. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum,
Hello, friends. Can you hear me? I'm immunocompromised, so if it's okay, I prefer to keep it. I'm immunocompromised, so if you can you hear me okay? Okay. Okay, sorry about that. I was on the fence about coming here to begin with. So I met Wynn in 2004 here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. Though actually, I think it might have been at the bike rack because we both rode bikes at that time. And unfortunately, Beth, who was also part of that group, just stepped out to go to the bathroom. But you'll see her, you'll know who she is when she comes back in. And we were a close-knit group, the young adult group at Unitarian Universalist Church here. And very quickly I got to know Wynn, and we realized we had a lot in common. We were both dancers and meditators, and we also both were disabled and neurodivergent. Though we didn't use that term back then, it was we knew that we were wired differently. And so there was just an incredible sense of trust and understanding between us, which just, like, I knew that I could tell Wynn things and he would understand in a non-judgmental way immediately. And because of that connection, I feel like he was a spiritual sibling as well, that we shared so much in common, and yeah, he was a very important person in my life because I was young. I mean, I'm not so young now, and I know lots of people who have had life-threatening traumatic experiences now, but at the time, Wynn was one of only a few people, and he shared about those experiences so freely. It really touched me on levels that I can't even comprehend here, and especially in front of all of you. But I definitely felt Wynn's heart in so many different ways. Loving kindness. I never felt judgment from Wynn, and I never felt righteousness from Wynn. I only felt his heart, and seeing him always made me smile. And so I'm more of a writer than a speaker. So I wrote a poem for Wynn, which I'd like to share with all of you. Wynn, in my mind's eye, I see you dancing, grounded in the moment and beaming love. You embodied the power of transformation, metamorphosing the pain and shock of the past into feathery grace and joy. I hear your continuation as the robins croon their cheerful songs. I see your continuation in the cherry blossoms outside my window, glimmering in the light of the sun. Pure of intention, pure of heart, a dazzling wave of you has unfurled in unison with the undulations of the earth. Breathing in, I smile, feeling you in my heart. I have so much love for Wynn, and my love for Wynn, I guess, extends to this whole world. He has moved me in such ways to to love the earth as he did. Thank you all. I'm going to leave this poem here so that the altar has creativity.
So when my husband and I moved to Boulder in 2013, as David Chernikoff mentioned, we hadn't started our own Zen Sangha. We used to attend Tuesday night groups. And Wynn was a service committee member. And he would always be standing just at the entrance of the church. Hello, Kriti. I don't know, I don't think I can act like him. But, it's just like he could take photograph with his eyes. You couldn't tell, I couldn't tell for many months until I shared a car ride with him that he had had a very severe car accident and traumatic brain injury. Just so handsome. Such sparkling eyes. It was only when the news of his passing came, I realized he was 50. Like, really? Our experience, our connection deepened when we started doing what David Chernikoff was just mentioning. We started a bearing witness to climate crisis events in Boulder. One of the earliest events we did was at the coal power plant that Boulder still has in 2022, Valmont. And we did meditation in public spaces wearing signs about extent of climate crisis around the world. And he just took on. There was a period where we used to have monthly meetings of this group called Eco Dharma Sangha. From about 2014 to 2018, there were periods where we had monthly meetings, and he'd be there. He'd be there. In this period, I have hundreds of emails by Wynn, and I have been going over them in this last 10 days, 2 weeks. Every now and then, Imtiaz, my husband, comes, and I have tears rolling down my eyes because I have just read another one, right? I could, just like David read, I could have brought his own pieces here. I don't know if he really talked about climate science and policy with everyone. He knew I was a climate scientist, so he'd send me these videos that would teach me something that I hadn't read about. I don't think it's like, as I was saying, each of us hold a different part of Wynn. And for me, there are very few people in Boulder community who had the level of understanding of specific climate science issues and climate policy issues that Wynn had, which is all the more remarkable because a lot of people just know his funny and goofy side. And, there were times that he had trouble with expressing himself in linear ways, right? But it was just so striking. One of my last long conversations with Wynn was after a retreat. I gave him a ride from Rocky Mountain Eco Dharma Center. And on our way back, he kept talking to me about what in Buddhism is called 5 remembrances. Anyone know about 5 remembrances? I'll share them with you because they were so important for Wynn. I am sure to become old, I cannot avoid aging. I am sure to become ill, I cannot avoid illness. I am sure to die, I cannot avoid death. Fourth one is, I must be parted from all that is dear and beloved to me. And the fifth one, I am the owner of my actions, heir to my actions. My actions are my relations, my protections. Whatever actions I do, of these I'll become heir. Okay? And he was just so excited, right? This was the excitable mode. Kriti, I don't get it why fossil fuel company leaders do not understand that they are the heir of their actions. His last email was written in bold, just like the hints he left on Facebook. It was on 2/22/22. He died on 4/22/22. And he had just done a climate grief retreat with me and one of my co-facilitators. I don't know how to explain this, but we do a practice which is called seventh generation practice, where we imagine people who are currently alive to be ancestors, and the people 200 years from now, 2222, to be our future descendants. And he was an ancestor in that practice that we did. And he was, in the practice, we imagined that there will be life, thriving life, 200 years from now. And he was just blown away by that. He was blown away by that. And the email he wrote me was said, I am blown away by that possibility, Kriti. Something significant will need to happen for us to get there.
So in all the holy traditions, singing is a really important part of spiritual practice, and the word kirtan and satsang simply comes back as coming together. There's many explanations. And the power of kirtan is you can just sing a song. We could just come up here and just sing a song, and you could just listen to the song. But the beauty of kirtan is that you become
Padme. Mane Padme Hum. Let him hear you up in heaven. Om Mane Padme Hum. Om Mane Padme Hum. Om Mane Padme Hum. And oh sweet wind, oh sweet wind, fly home so free. Oh sweet wind, fly home so free. We'll fly with you. Oh sweet wind, let's fly home all free. Oh, sweet wind, let's all fly home free. Oh, sweet wind, let's all fly home free. Oh, sweet wind, let's fly home so free. We can do it. Oh, sweet wind, let's fly home so free. Yes, indeed. Oh, sweet wind, let's fly home so free. Mane Padme Hum. Mane Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, the jewel of the lotus, and that's exactly what Wynn was and what you all are. Blessings.
At this point, we can open it up to shares from anyone who'd like to come up, offer anything on the altar, including the seeds and stones we have, or maybe you have something you want to offer. You're welcome to take it back with you if that is what you like, and say anything that is on your mind. Yeah, so we can line up here, and if you've already shared, please feel free to move if that feels comfortable. But anyone is welcome to come up here. In general, usually we'd just ask you to speak from where you are, but because we are live streaming, it would be helpful if you can be here.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Barbara Miller, and up until just a few weeks ago, I would have said that Wynn was an acquaintance, a long-time acquaintance, because we showed up at the same events together, mostly at Stephen Bross's house. And we shared, but it was on a very, a spiritually deep level, but as far as friendship goes, I didn't know really anything about him, except that he was a lovely person and a friendly person. But at this point, he's really touched my heart. On Thursday, April 14th, that was our Christian celebration of Maundy Thursday with the washing of feet, as Stephen mentioned earlier. And I was there, and Wynn was there. And I've always considered the washing of feet to be a very intimate act. My feet, because of RA, are very deformed, and a lot of people think I hurt. Well, I don't, at least not in my feet. And during the ceremony, as people were moving to the chairs in front to have their feet washed and to wash others, Wynn came over and he whispered to me, "May I wash your feet?" And I thought it was an unusual request, but I said, well, yes. So when there was an empty chair, I sat in it, and Wynn came right over. And he washed my feet. Afterwards, as we were milling about and just talking with each other, he came over and he said, "I want to tell you why I asked you that." He said, "I really loved my grandmother. And when I first learned kinesiology, I wanted to share it, and I worked on my grandmother's feet." And he said, "I'm not sure I was as gentle as I could have been. And I just wanted to have a chance to do it again and to do it better." And that touched me. And so I was carrying him in my heart. And then I did not watch the news. Don't know why. I must have been busy with other things. But I got an email from Stephen on that, I believe it was Monday the 24th, 10 days after I had seen him, that said that he had died and why and where, and I read the whole article. And I realized that my own spiritual path has led me to learn how important it is for me and anyone else called to do so, to support, to be a loving support, whether in prayer or in person, for those who follow their heart and have the courage to do what's in their heart, no matter what anyone else says. I'm not so brave, but I celebrate his courage. Thank you.
My name's Michael Kotis. I was Wynn's photojournalism instructor about 11 years ago, and also a sounding board for climate issues. I'm editor of a national climate-focused newsroom and ran a Center for Environmental Journalism. And not a lot I can add about the surprise of learning that when I obviously read lots of climate news every day and had seen what had happened in Washington, but no name was released initially. And then when I finally read the story that identified the person, I think I probably had to read it 9 or 10 times, recognizing the name, but thinking I must be remembering something incorrectly or they must have something wrong, and then having to look things up. And remain very puzzled and lost in all of this, like many people, because I work on climate every day, and often the news that I put out is grim, and you wonder what the impact is on the public and the people that we believe need to know these things, but also it's hard stuff to continue to look at. So anyway, I hadn't seen Wynn in several years. We used to run into each other in Boulder, and he was always just such a compassionate and fascinating character. We had a lot of long car drives because the class I taught was in Longmont, and he could not drive. And the class started out in the middle of a fairly brutal winter, and I offered him a ride home once because it was really cold and we were walking out together, and he got in the habit of asking if I'd be going by his house, and I always was. So we shared a lot of reasonably long car drives together, and I can't remember the specifics of any conversation, but I was starting to write a book about the fire crisis and had covered the 4 Mile Canyon fire, which had been shortly before our class together. And I know I talked quite a bit about that because you kind of couldn't be around me without learning a lot about wildfires and climate. And he was always, a fascinated person with those issues, and yet was very focused on caring about people. And that was what I remember about his photography, was he made beautiful pictures of landscapes and animals, but photojournalism is about photographing the world and people, and he really worked hard to capture portraits that, showed people's character and personality, and he was really talented at getting people to open up and show their hearts to them on their faces. I'm just bringing a few pictures that I found in my files of Wynn from when we studied together, and I'll add them to the altar here. Thank you.
So I'll try and match that key, whatever it's doing. So this is a chant, the words of Christ, that Wynn would join us at our Christian contemplative gatherings, just a small group at our house. And so these words of Christ of, you are the light of the world, I am the light of the world, we are the light of the world. And we could sing, Wynn was the light of the world. So it's a simple melody, you can just join in. You are the light of the world. You are the light of the world. You are the light of the world. Wynn was the light of the world. Wynn was the light of the world. Wynn was the light of the world. We are the light of the world. We are the light of the world.
We are, we are, we are the light of the world. We are, we are, we are the light of the world.
This felt a little pertinent to that, Stephen. I know these are high times for mindfulness practitioners. And in the words of one of my teachers, I haven't said it since hearing of Wynn because it's been so triggering. But to take the movement that Wynn has offered us through his choice out into the world and into that fierceness of presence, and that love and that grief, like you spoke to, David, is truly the wings that we fly on right now. And say, practice like your hair is on fire. And that every death offers movement on some level. And yet, experiencing what I've traversed, similar, David, thank you for saying so clearly, the joys and the sorrows, and really saturating in what is the world right now, just to really take that forward and to stay with the words, how to make this a more complete experience in everything we do and whoever we are with. As I know, after hearing Wynn's loss, he was a friend, and sometimes you don't know how bright they are. And you look back at truly what he offered this world through his unique experience. So, and really saturating in what he offered us. May we make this a more complete experience.
I'm Beth Eldridge, and I met Wynn here. I moved to Boulder a little after 2000, and we were part of the young adult group, and this was a place that invited people from all over and from all different kinds, and gave us a place to play and to grow and to learn together. And just recognizing the importance of community and of spaces for that. And I danced with Wynn as well at Movement Mass and enjoyed his playful spirit. I got close to him through the young adult group. We went to the Dairy Center, we had dinner, we had potlucks. Erica invited us to her sort of gently into the Buddhist realm and the vegetarian potlucks. And he was a beautiful spirit, a bright spirit, a passionate spirit, and someone who accepted life on life's terms and found ways, sometimes being upset with it at first, but finding ways to find peace with it and to be present with it and to find the silver linings and to make the most out of life. And I'm also a Marshall Fire survivor from Louisville and a victim of the disaster industry. And I just know that so much love and care is in our community, so much knowledge, so much support is available. And I just really hope that we continue to spread the awareness, the love, the joy, the care for each other, the care for our planet, and that we speak out to each other when we find ourselves isolated or suffering, and that we stay connected. And since Wynn's passing, I felt him more present in my life than before, like in the quiet moments at nighttime or when I'm taking a walk. I feel his presence has been sent out into the universe. And I saw a man lying by the creek without his shirt on, like Wynn liked to have his shirt off in the summer. And I could see a piece of Wynn. It shocked me at first because I was like, could that be him? And it could be. And there are so many ways that we can carry on his legacy and that his gifts to the world can be carried forward. And so I thank you all for coming and for being a part of that. Thanks. Oh. And since most of my belongings are in a storage locker somewhere, I found this magnet. It has a picture of a bear on it. It says, "Greet each day with boldness in your dreams, clarity in your vision, and happiness in your heart." And there's a big bear, but then there are lots of little bees dancing around it. And when I saw this, it reminded me of Wynn.
All of a sudden, it seems like the words are not as easy as when I wrote them on paper. I just feel my heart space fill up with the emotions of the words are just voluminous. My name's Pamela, and I've known Wynn for over 25 years. I probably did not have as close a relationship to him as many of those of you have spoke and shared. But what's true for me is what's true for most of you is the energy of Wynn and how he touched our hearts in so many ways. His wisdom, his love, his easygoing spirit. He was really just a unique individual, very, very unique. So I would like to read what I wrote. When I am remembering your presence at many of our Rally Sport Fitness yoga classes, I observed your attentiveness and your ability to deeply listen to your body, mindful of your breath and staying with the flow. Toward the end of one of our classes, as we were preparing for Savasana, the ultimate practice of letting go, you asked me if it was okay to cry. I felt honored that you were brave enough and vulnerable enough to be witnessed, tears and all. Little did most of us know the gift you gave to us all that day. Experiencing trauma on any level is a neglected subject in our culture. It seems you tried your best to keep your head and heart in the right place. Your love for the natural beauty and bounty of the earth kept you motivated, doing all you could. But even so, your heart broke to witness so many of her losses. I too have shared this well of grief for this earth. Most of all, I hold a gentle smile in my heart as I reflect on your many visits through my neighborhood on your bike, always asking, "How are you, Pamela? It's so good to see you." I hope you remember how I felt the same. I'm grateful for your kind and loving spirit, your greetings and laughter, which have always filled me with joy. That bright light that is you shines within me forever. Thank you, everyone.
My name is Nobako Hori, and I'm a participant in the Boundless in Motion Sangha. But I'm actually going to read something on behalf of a woman named Anne Morrow, who was a friend of Wynn's. She lives in Nova Scotia. She may be watching now. Couldn't join with us tonight, but she wrote this piece. It was one of those transitory fall snowstorms when the day begins cold and wet. But by mid-afternoon, the sun had reappeared and worked its magic, turning white fluff into clear streams that disappeared down the now cleansed gutters along Spirit Boulevard in downtown Denver. Our family friend, Wynn Bruce, had taken the bus from Boulder, his cameras and heavy lighting equipment filling his backpack as he trudged from Union Station over to the empty old cafe where we waited for him to shoot a series of family portraits to mark our daughter's fleeting young womanhood. My family sat around the candle last night after we had heard of Wynn's death. We recalled that brilliant snowy day in 2017 and the sun streaming through the tall cafe windows as Wynn silently moved about the couches and the coffee clicking away at us. His presence put us at such ease, we almost forgot he was there. The shoot and the trip to Denver were taxing for him physically, he said, but despite that, he came. I recall with perfect detail as I walked Wynn back towards the bus station. We stopped in the empty concrete space behind the city jail, and we both got out our cameras to shoot the ragged roof lines of the old buildings in front of us against the late afternoon sky. He gave me a mini lesson in perspective and angle and shared his artful eye. We said goodbye there, the cold concrete walls and tiny windows of the jail behind us bearing witness to what is usually viewed as an ugly, dark no man's land, transformed now into a place of hidden beauty. If you just looked carefully enough, the truth and beauty were everywhere that day. We waved goodbye, feeling the deep connection of the shared magic of that afternoon. That is the last time I saw Wynn. We will never forget his quality of gentleness and fierceness too. His commitment to his beloved earth was uncompromising. The photographs he took that day are a lasting reminder of a soft-spoken gentleman whose kind demeanor belied the great passion and power inside. He had the ability, as seen through his photographs, to pierce through the conventional, to see some essential truth beneath. He did not avert his gaze. Anne Morrow, April 2022, Nova Scotia. If it's okay to just share a few words of my own. I didn't know Wynn personally, although I think in the years that I lived here in Boulder, I'm sure I saw him at the couple times I was at Movement Mass or the Vitamin Cottage that I lived up the street from, or the Sangha, the Ego Dharma Sangha gatherings. I most recently reside in New Jersey and participate in Extinction Rebellion, the climate justice group that organized several vigils around the country Friday, April 29th, I believe it was. As a person who's felt deeply inclined to fight for this earth, as somebody who's in my 30s and sees the future with a lot of uncertainty and fear, changed the ways that I've thought about living my life, kids, a certain career, because the way that we live as human beings, driven by delusion and failing to see each other and our connection to our earth, is driving us to extinction. I think Wynn deeply felt in his own mind, body, and heart the cries of this earth. His actions touched me deeply. And his life, as I'm learning over the last couple weeks. I spent the week up till Earth Day, actually more than a week, in sustained actions with Extinction Rebellion, and heard about his passing afterward. And I remembered the words of Thich Nhat Hanh. I think it was a book called Love in Action. And he says that act, self-immolation, is not, obviously it's not suicide, it's not even protest. He said that, and I'm going to paraphrase, I don't have the words in front of me, it is a way to offer up one's words with the greatest possible strength. Not knowing when, I cannot pretend to know what was on his heart. And yet I do believe that what was on his heart has touched me deeply, and many, many, many others around the world. And I'm deeply grateful for his life, for his courage and his conviction, as well as the beautiful ways he touched everybody through smiles and dance.
So about a month ago, I was practicing my tabla in the living room of my house. The tabla is East Indian hand drums, for those who don't know. And there I was practicing in the living room, and Wynn just comes waltzing into the house. And I just love that he just walked in, because that's how much at home he felt at our house. And he was always bringing little gifts and treats for us. He would bring like a cup of cheese, it was so funny. It's so sweet. And there I was playing, and he walked in and he saw me, and without saying a word, he just starts dancing. And I just, that's one of my favorite memories of him, because it went on for a while. And I was just playing, and he was just dancing. We were just enjoying each other. And he was so in his spirit, so in his beauty and the way he moved and his playfulness. And yeah, I cherish that moment. Some of you may know him from the dance community. Melissa Michaels is here, and it's it was so wonderful to see him dance there, how free he was and how grounded and deep and light and playful. He was a teacher to me in that way. So I'd love for us to take in all these beautiful shares we've received tonight, this wisdom, all this heart, beautiful heart energy, and drop in and spend a few moments in silence, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, to just be with what's alive in us now and breathe. You can do a practice if you have one. If you don't do a meditation practice, you can simply observe your breath, be with your breath, and be with sensation, and be with what's here now. So we'll take some silence. So take a deep breath in and let it go. And another deep breath in and out. And feel your body, feel your feet and hands. And start to just move your body a little. Come back into the space. And I'd like you to, if you're able and comfortable, to come to standing. Just to stand up. And to stretch. Feel your body, feel your aliveness. Feel the energy in your system, the emotion that might be here. Just allow that to spread through your whole body and just feel alive. And you can just move a little bit. And so what we'd like to do now is, in the spirit of how Wynn danced so beautifully from the heart, there's a piece that Melissa shared with me that Wynn had actually shared with her, Otis Redding's Amen, which is a lovely tune, and I wonder if we have that queued up, if we can start that. And I thought I would share with you, many of you probably know how Wynn danced, but he kind of got this like fluid thing going with his hands. And so we're going to do that. However, I'm realizing before we do that, because I want to end on that, but I want us to actually, in this space, close with a prayer. That we offer our hearts, offer a prayer to Spirit and to Wynn. Just thanking him for his beautiful life, the beautiful man that he was, the depth of his being, his heart, his playfulness, his humor, and his remarkable courage and care for this planet, for the beings here. We thank you, Wynn. We thank you, Spirit, for expressing yourself as Wynn. And we're going to miss you, brother. We're going to miss you. We're going to miss not having you in our lives. We're going to miss your smile. We're going to miss your bike helmet and your bound jeans. We're going to miss your cheese and all of your playful ways. And at this time, we also release you, Wynn. We send you on your journey with love into your next expression, whatever that is, that your passage into that next expression is full of grace, is smooth and swift, that you have our love and support carrying you through the bardo. We're with you, brother. We feel your presence here with us, and we send you to release you from this earth, that we don't bind you here, but that you are free to go. Bless you, brother. Amen, and amen, and amen.
With the rhythm now, hey, amen.
There it comes.
Amen. Hey, amen. Amen.
So just move and dance like Wynn.
Everybody together now. Hey, amen. The louder now. Hey, hey, amen. Everybody say, hey, amen. 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 Amen.
Amen and amen. Beautiful, beautiful. You all look just like Wynn. That was great. Yeah. So thank you all so much for coming. We have food in the fellowship hall. So please just let's be together, converse. And I would just like to offer a special thanks to Nobuko Hori, who did so much to make this event happen. So thank you. And to Mylène Villard. Did she leave? I'm not sure. Oh, there she is. Thank you so much for your help. And Kriti, thank you for making this happen. So thank you and enjoy. We'll see you in the fellowship hall. Yeah.
Thank you all so much. This is personally so meaningful for me. If you have any capacity, donations are much welcome. Some of Nobuko, Steve, they've spent money from their own side. We appreciate your help. And really, they stepped up at a time when a lot of us were grieving and actually frozen and paralyzed and not able to plan much. So thank you so much.